We're looking at here since we last talked is really an extrapolation, an extension, a continuing unveiling of the most sophisticated mass scientific mind control and social engineering that the world has probably ever seen and may ever see ever, because I don't think it's going to last too much longer before it comes down on itself. But the media, you remember when it was said that the Marshall McLuhan said the message is the media or the medium.
Yeah.
All right, well, it was TV. And just as some people were beginning to grasp the overwhelming power and influence and psychological, emotional, mental, spiritual subjugation of that media, TV, along comes the Internet, which I think geometrically takes the issue of mass control and influencing that much farther. And then we can, of course, stir into the pot that cauldron of hell, cell phone radiation, electromagnetic fields which literally drown us. We're living in a fishbowl. 150 years ago, there was no EMF to speak of, except for a few lightning strikes and maybe something from space that dropped in now and then. But we are living in an environment that the human body simply cannot adapt to quickly enough. And the controllers are, 20, 30 years ahead, 40 years ahead in some disciplines, maybe 10 years ahead in others. But the idea of controlling the human mind now is so advanced and so exacting, I'm sure it would have shaken Edward L. Bernays in his grave if he were to be woken and told about it. I mean, it's just amazing what's going on. You see that as well as anybody.
Oh, yes. I've been observing it for years, and of course, I've studied it extensively, and they took one of my inventions and put it under secrecy for years, because some of the technologies I've developed can be used for mind control. They can also be used for the greatest good that the human being has ever seen. That's always a two-edged sword, when you develop.
The human being will never see in this case unless the planet is completely turned over and retooled to put good on the throne of evil. And I don't see that happening anytime soon, although I'd love for it to happen. I don't mean to sound negative, but it is what it is right now, and we are in the hands of people who do not particularly care about the value of human life, happiness, integrity, or anything else.
Well, that's true. And, it's Iblis fair seeming. All the TV shows and movies program people. They think that the darkness wins, and that it's good to have no integrity. The people with no integrity, they're always, they're rich, they drive the best cars, and they end up, winning and beating the other people out. So greed is good. And then
greed wins. Greed is good, and that message goes in on several levels. And remember, it is also being enfolded and embedded into the subconscious through these technologies we've briefly mentioned. We'll get into that more as we continue.
Exactly. Yeah, the technology's reinforced, so we're getting it subconsciously and we're getting it consciously on multi-levels. The TV sets, scan rates, and are designed to put people into alpha states or below, and hypnotic trance, and then they've got the modulations coming from the Wi-Fi towers, and the modulations coming in through subliminal programming on the TV sets, and then also through the power lines. There's plenty.
Now let me say one thing, and then I would like you to please tell us that anecdote again. That is a classic, and it's crucial, and it was many years ago. Now, the idea that the human mind is an electronic organism, an electronic machine, is certainly not what most people envision. They think we're chemical first, what we eat is crucial and all that. It is crucial, but we're electrical first and chemical second. And they, being the scientists who are behind this effort to control people, have decoded much, if not all, of the valuable parts of the human emotion spectrum. The emotional spectrum is known in terms of hertz, megahertz, and other kinds of electromagnetic radiation and frequencies, and can be programmed. We know that people who go near secure military installations will all of a sudden become very nervous and frightened and want to leave. They want to get the hell out of there. And that's because the frequency for fear is being broadcast on a perimeter basis all around that facility. This is really older technology. It's not new. Now, what Pat just said is critical. We all know about cell phone towers. We know about the Gwen towers. We know about satellite applications of electromagnetic fields. We know about the HARP program to pump up into the ionosphere tremendous amounts of electronic energy and then use that to beam back down specific and selected frequencies which can affect small groups or large groups of peoples and populations. But there's another main platform, a main venue, that these kinds of frequencies are actually placed into the human mind at very close range, and it's called the power grid. And Pat was the first one that I ever knew to figure it out. So tell us that story about how those nice, friendly 60 hertz wires in your walls and your 60 hertz powered electronic devices in your home can have a dual purpose at the very least.
Well, John Lilly was a good friend of mine. We worked together for the Navy on dolphin projects, and John Lilly developed technologies for bypassing the mechanisms of the human brain that resist programming. And he developed, I'll tell it this way. My friend Adam Trombley was also a friend of John Lilly's, and he was in Hawaii looking at the power grid, and there are signals coming in the power grid that have some ultrasonic waveforms and certain wave shape, and so Adam was looking at this grid on the power line, and I was
he went
at
over
it.
He went over to Lily's lab, didn't he? And there was a screen showing a waveform. Wasn't that the way?
Lilly walked into to Adam Trombley's house,
okay.
And Adam Trombley had the waveform up on the screen.
I see.
And John said to Adam, he said, "Oh, you know about my waveform?" And Adam said, "What are you talking about?" And then Adam said, "No, this is coming in on a power grid." And then John Lilly said, "Oh, so that's what they're doing with my waveform, the Lilly Wave." And if you Google the Lilly Wave, you'll find just one reference to it. But basically, it's a waveform that enables you to bypass the resistance of the human mind and program the brain. And you can transmit fear, you can transmit any emotion, any kind of information you want on the Lilly Wave. And basically, Adam had discovered that they're using it through the power grid, and subsequently I've been all over the country, all over the world, and measured these things, and apparently there are black boxes in the power companies that produce the Lilly Wave, and they're